Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of a support replay analysis. This is a game I just played. Basically, I just want to cover my decisions. I want to keep it real with you guys. I haven't made a support video in a while, not one where I'm just kind of going over every little detail that enables, to just have a lot of impact as a support. And I think this game, you guys are going to be really fascinated because I think my items are relatively standard, but with a couple of tweaks here and there, enable me to be significantly more tanky and effective than your average player usually would. On top of that, I think my general decision making was quite effective as well, and let's hop into it. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like, literally, with the gameleap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the gameleap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below, I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. So as you can see, I'm playing position 4 Ogre Magi. While it is a little bit off the meta, it doesn't really matter. Everything you're learning here can be applied to the 5 role, except I'm not pulling the small camp, of course. So the first thing I want to keep in mind is, honestly, throughout this lane, I'm not going to be looking to trade with Dawnbreaker very much. The only time I will specifically trade with Dawnbreaker is if she extends past the wave. For instance there, I click the Dawnbreaker when she walks past the range creep. This is because I know she's going to aggro the wave, so it's actually a favorable trade. But immediately after that, I understand how this lane's going to play out. If I don't zone the Lion, my Weaver cannot lane. To keep it very simple, this Lion is trying to play a game of bob and weave and hit the Weaver. Because he doesn't do any damage to me, I'm a 7 armor hero, and you can apply this to a lot of other melee supports as well. I want to create the one-on-one for Weaver. I'm not going to go so far to as where, they can go crazy and fold to nothing me, but with the Tango going, right, I currently have a Tango going, they're going to commit on me a little bit, but it frankly doesn't matter. I'm going to get a nice little Ignite on a 2, I'm going to change a little bit, not too far, only get that 1 extra auto in, and then back off. You can even argue I went maybe a little bit far, but the big thing here is that you can see the general HP trade. It's favored for us because they traded in the wave, and I primarily went on Lion, and I enabled my ranged hero, my very squishy ranged hero, to play defensive. So the next thing I do, this is something none of you guys do. Now, I know you can get offended, but I almost guarantee that none of you guys do this. So right in this situation, I'm playing support, okay? There's no support players who do this. I'm playing support, but I understand that offlaners need the wave. He needs the wave. This guy doesn't want to walk up. He honestly just messed up. He tanked a bunch of damage for completely no reason. This guy doesn't have a stick either, which is interesting. And so basically I need to get the wave back for him, right? I need to put it in a situation where I can help him out. And the way I'm going to do that is by aggroing, right? But specifically, I'm going to aggro here. I'm going to take the wave and then hit. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Speed, why would you do this? Well, number one, this range creep isn't going to die, and so it's safe, right? That's the main thing. I can then just take the wave and static it here, right? So I'm going to give my Weaver the farm. I'm going to enable these creeps not to be denied, and I'm going to try to get the wave back. Unfortunately, that range creep did re-aggro there. I actually should have stayed closer to the creeps and hit them again so that that wouldn't have happened. But either way, it did still manage to get the lane back just a little bit. And over time, slowly but surely, because I have a stick and a really good stick lane, and I bought 6 tangos, as well as a salve, as well as a second mango, really what you're going to notice that over time, I'm able to kind of just bully them out of the lane here. My Weaver gets a really nice dodge of the Lion stun, and I immediately see that as an opportunity. A lot of spells were committed, I had just healed up quite a significant amount, and because I know Lion's stun is on cooldown and his other ability is mana drain, I see it as an opportunity to get in and deal some damage. Fortunately, my Ignite didn't hit the Dawnbreaker, but I was able to nearly chase down the Lion, drop him low. If we take a look at his regen, he's got nothing. He's stuck on 1 HP, which I would even argue is almost just as good as killing him, because what is his play now? He can't really do anything. I mean, sure, he can stun me off of the Dawnbreaker here, but that doesn't really matter. And then as things continue on, I mean, the Dawnbreaker's just as low as well. And so my Weaver and I actually both have salves. Unfortunately, he ended up killing himself while his salve was going, but I'm able to pick up the Dawnbreaker kill. Now, honestly, to some extent, I'll keep it real. I almost feel like killing that Dawnbreaker was not worth it. And the reason why is she was so low on HP where, she would have to, and I really mean have to, buy multiple salves to get herself back up to full HP. right? That was her only option. And so I honestly feel that even killing her there is maybe a bit of a mistake because now there's a situation where I'm low on mana. I'm gonna have to pop my clarity and play defensive for a moment here, as you'll see in a bit, and then I'm gonna look for a side pull. The reason why I look for a side pull here is because I understand once again that my Weaver is gonna have a hard time laning. Weaver hates kill lanes. He hates lanes that have long disables, right? And Dawnbreaker line is of course a lane that can deal 2/3 of your health in the snap of a finger, and so I really made it my priority to get the lane back and prevent this guy from, you know, just basically getting run over. Now, you can see his CS is still not good, but keep in mind, this is not a favorable lane for Weaver. On top of that, we've been doing quite a bit of fighting, which means that the Dawnbreaker CS also isn't great, right? It's only 10 for a melee hero, which frankly is quite underwhelming. And now finally, the last thing I want to cover is basically spell usage as the lane progresses. So the biggest thing that I do here that I think most people wouldn't have considered is I specifically was waiting for an opportunity for them to overcommit. I wasn't really planning on ever casting my stun unless it was going to A, save the Weaver from Dawnbreaker, or B, enable us to basically keep the bug on someone, the Weaver bug. So the only time that that would happen is if they commit their spells aggressively. And you're going to see in a moment from now, the Dawnbreaker is going to do exactly that. In a second, she's going to cast their spells, right? So they cast their spells, and I'm like, okay, time to punish. My Weaver's on the same page, spells have been committed, and I can look for the stun. Unfortunately, the bug only hit 1, so it didn't end up being too much of a problem, but either way, it was enough to kind of punish this Dawnbreaker, as she had really overcommitted there. So just kind of a good look from my Weaver and I, really good synergy from the two of us. I thought we played that really well. Unfortunately, maybe a little bit deep. I'll be honest, you know, maybe a little bit. Maybe we shouldn't have chased that guy. It did force a bit of a, you know, a rotation from the Void Spirit, but obviously that's worth it for him getting 2 kills. Either way, a really good start to our lane. Even though my Weaver is poor, I will keep it real, my Weaver is poor, he's not completely dumpstered. I know it might seem like he is, and a lot of you guys are gonna be like, Speed, you're so dumb. Guys, we're playing against, like, the best laner in Dota, Dawnbreaker. It's like, this hero is insane. And honestly, I don't think I can be blamed for my Weaver's complete lack of CS. It happens. You know, he's got a difficult lane, a lot of fighting going on, a lot of regen being forced. Maybe I'm not side pulling enough. There's always things, of course, I could be missing. I'm absolutely not perfect. And that's, you know, also a mentality you guys should have as well. No matter how well you think you're doing, there's always things to add on to the list. After that, I decided to TP mid. I felt like the bottom lane, while it wasn't over, I just thought it would be nice to refill my Pangalier's empty bottle, considering there was no runes coming up. So if I didn't refill his bottle here, he would have been in a position where for the next 2 minutes, he'd have no resources. And as a mid laner, that's a big problem. In fact, it's a massive problem. So now I'm going to look for a deep ward to scout out potential Void Spirit rotations and to see if Dawnbreaker ever decides to jungle so that I can look to, you know, potentially put pressure there. Now, after that, I kind of go back to this part of the map. The reason why I decided to go back bottom is I don't feel like Weaver is a hero that wants to solo lane. Weaver likes having a disable in his lane, and this is something I consider. I also don't think trying to kill Void Spirit is that useful. I could go top, and that is an option. It most certainly is an option. But, and I really mean but, I really feel like enabling the Weaver is my best bet this game because of the nature of the hero. It does a lot of damage, but kind of requires someone to stand in front and cast disables to enable it. So next up, I honestly am a huge fan of this play. I feel like this sequence is one of those plays that, like, it's really hard to see the impact of it until it actually happens. So first things first, I TP'd top to help out with a fight. I'm not showing it to you because nothing happened. I kind of just TP'd in and they were already dead. So basically I showed up a little bit late. It was an outpost TP, so I didn't TP necessarily that late. It just didn't work out. Either way, after that play, I noticed my Gyro wanted to jungle, and Ogre Magi is a hero that frickin' loves levels. He's one of the supports that really wants to be level 14. He's like super happy, you know. For instance, a hero like Ancient Apparition. While it's nice to get levels, you don't need to be level 14 as AA. You just need level 6 and you're good. Ogre really likes to hit his level 10 talent, have max stun, max bloodlust, it just works. So after I push in the top lane, I understand that one of the main advantages of Ogre Magi as a hero is his ability to chip. He's one of the highest chip damage heroes from range in the game, and you should abuse that. Dropping this Dawnbreaker low is a big deal. We'll see that play out in a bit. This is one of those things that's really hard to see. Me and the Brew, who's by the way a support, are gonna bully her out a little bit here, right? I would still do this if I was alone. I would still mess with her a tad. I wouldn't commit too hard, but I would mess with her because I have information on the rest of the enemy team. I know I'm not just feeding. right? I see them, and so this is partially a calculated play. But you'll notice I'm gonna hit this creep. I'm gonna act like I'm backing off. I'm gonna walk into the tree line. The reason why is I actually wanted to ignite her again. I want to grief this Dawnbreaker's HP so hard that if a fight breaks out, he can't even ulti in, or at least wouldn't want to. And that's exactly what happens. He gets comfortable, and what did I say I was gonna do? I'm gonna ignite him. Unfortunately, didn't get the multicast, but it's still a decent amount of damage, right? It's still, what, a 200 damage nuke, 250, something of the sort at level 3? Maybe it's actually much higher than that. I didn't multicast though, but look, a fight breaks out mid, right? And this is exactly what I was talking about. A fight breaks out mid, he has ult, right? He has ult. If I hadn't ignited him twice and me and Brew hadn't gone on him, his ult's chilling. Now you might be like, oh, but Speed, you're not mid. Yeah, I'm not mid. That's true, but I have TP for mid. I didn't TP top, because if I TP top, I can't TP mid. So if I'm gonna farm a side lane as a hero I want to scale on, I'm not gonna TP to that lane, because I understand that that's gonna prevent me from fighting. But now I can TP here, right? So I had TP mid. I thought that this fight might continue on. Turns out that I think nothing really comes of it. But I was able to get a decent amount of gold, right? I almost have 600 gold now from farming the top lane, nearly a level, right? And then I can still TP mid if needed. Honestly, obviously, I should have just stayed top. Would have been really nice to actually get the XP, but it doesn't matter too much. Either way, as my TP was on cooldown, at this point in the game, I kind of just decided to sit mid. I think realistically, me and the Brew probably should have smoked to the bottom side of the map and tried to kind of connect with my Weaver and intercept this gank that we actually saw coming. So I will argue to some extent that this was not necessarily optimal. I felt like I should have actually been a bit more active with my Brew, especially considering Max Ignite Ogre is brutal to play against. It's one of the hardest level 7 spikes on a support in the early game, just because if you multicast, you're going to do, I think, upwards of 600 damage to a hero if you hit them with multiple concoctions or whatever they're called. And so, yeah, you're going to see this fight breaks out here, and that's exactly what happens. You know, I'm going to get the multicast Ignite onto the bat, and it's just going to shred him, right? It just does so much damage over time. And yeah, as the fight continues on, you're going to notice this is the power of the Ogre. You know, even though I have no defensive item outside of Stick, which if you don't buy Stick on Ogre in the lane, I honestly don't know what are you doing? What are you doing? I actually don't know what you're doing. But I get off my Bloodlust before dying. Notice how I'm really not panicking. Even though I'm surrounded by heroes, I'm like, what can I do? How can I be useful? So many support players, and I mean, there's so many are like, oh my gosh, I'm dying. I'm a squishy support, I have to run. Yeah, you kind of have to run, and I'm still kiting out. And, you know, some heroes have to be more afraid than others, of course. But at the end of the day, you need to think about how can I be useful, especially if you're not going to have an easy time getting away. If you're playing a CM or a AA or an Ogre or a Bane and you can't get away, get your stuff off. I get my stuff off here. It allows me to obviously throw out this Ignite and potentially set up for another bait play afterwards. That kind of is the case on the Skywrath here. I have a Stick, which allows me to survive his nuke. Well, 2 nukes and an auto. And yeah, it's just an incredibly good fight for the boys. All right, so here I want to show that I TP top. This is a psychotic play because I don't have TP for mid now, right? So I kind of discussed this, but what is the difference between this play and that play? This play, I knew my team would largely rotate towards the top side of the map after taking mid, so I felt comfortable that I could largely connect with them. As you'll see here, I'm going to throw an Ignite at this wave, but in fear of not being able to show up to a future engagement, I'm going to instantly run mid. I'm not even going to spend any time, because I understand that my TP being down means that I cannot be there, and so I'm going to make the long trek to bottom. Now, unfortunately, nothing happens. Well, my team takes a pretty good engagement, right? You don't always have to be a part of every engagement. It's really nice for me to push out top. It's going to give me my Aether Lens. Actually, I already had the Aether Lens. It's going to give me my next stat item, my cloak, and it's going to just enable me to get to the really key items that are an Aether Lens, a Glimmer Cape, a Force Staff. These items are game-changing just as much as a Daedalus is. I know that sounds insane, but obviously I'm talking about for the cost, for the price, right? It's still just as effective, I would say, in overall impact to an extent. I would say it's quite close. But yeah, at this point of the game, I'm kind of just looking to go in between my teammates. I'm very, very tanky. I've itemized this way very intentionally. I've identified that the enemy team is almost only magical damage. The only exception really is the Q from Dawnbreaker, which might not even be used on me most of the time. And so yeah, this cloak is going to be huge. 15% resistance on a very high HP pool is beautiful. So another thing that I think is a really high skill play is smoking from mid. A lot of the time support players tell me they can't get their team to smoke, and the reality is you don't need your whole team to smoke. You need often just one person. And take that one person and run them towards your team, right? And this is how you can get your team to connect without smoking all 5 of them at the same time. We have this good top vision, right? You can see we have these 2 deep top wards. And I'm like, okay, let's play for those wards. Let's play on that vision. And that's exactly what we do, right? We're going to play to this vision, and even though they end up getting a brew pick off, which by the way is a support, it ends up being a disaster. And that's because I told my Pango I want to smoke to this vision, I want to make a play on these wards. Of course, it ended up really working out. We got a little bit lucky to an extent that, hey, you know, they went on our guys right as we were getting there. It worked out, but at the end of the day, we're there. We're playing our vision. Even if that didn't work out like that, we probably would have just killed this Bat Rider in the triangle. And yeah, it ends up being a really easy fight. Beautiful chain stun here from the boys. And while I do end up getting kind of shredded by the Deso of the Dawnbreaker, I even buy so much time on her go that she dies as well. So the next, and honestly one of the final plays of the game, and actually, yeah, I'm gonna end it here, guys. This is a really, really key point in solo queue. It's a tough one, I'm not gonna lie. It requires a little bit of communication, which I know sometimes doesn't work, but the idea, honestly, the simple idea of playing on wards in the mid to late game and facilitating these plays by placing a ward and telling your team, here is where we play, this is what we play, is your job as a support. You have arguably the most important job in Dota as a support. I would argue vision and then having your team play around that vision is maybe the most important thing in Dota. And it is your job as a support to facilitate this. So here, look what I do. I put down this ward, I tell my team, please play the ward. I typed it in the chat. I guarantee I typed it in the chat, okay? After that, I'm gonna set up here. I don't expect my team to come right away. I know it's just a bunch of goons, right? I don't expect them to come right away, but I want them to be aware of the fact that I want them to do this. I'm going to try to make this play. I'm not gonna overforce it. If they don't do it, and I'm not gonna get mad and die on the ward to prove a point. It's not what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna look. So here, why am I going on Bat Rider? Split enemy team, Void Spirit top, Skywrath not close enough. Dawnbreaker is Dawnbreaker, but actually she has no ulti. I don't think I knew that, to be fair, but she has no ulti, so great, that works out. But I'm going on this Bat Rider. Why? Doesn't have a BKB, I knew that. So I knew this guy was vulnerable. If he gets caught, sure, he's a very high damage hero, but he has no proper way to disengage. And so we're able to go on him here. And we get a really nice jump onto, honestly, a key hero for them. He is now Ignite and Spirit Vesseled, and that does a lot of damage. You can see his health is going to very, very quickly disappear. Unfortunately, we don't end up killing him because my team wasn't really, I guess, on the perfect pages, but it does set up for a Skywrath kill. Now, why did I decide to play this hill and not the bottom hill? Very simple, very simple. Partially because my team was playing top, but mostly because there's Roshan. Yeah. And by the way, I told my team to Rosh as well. You don't need to say a lot, guys. In fact, if you say a lot in solo queue, you're the guy who's always talking, you're just probably annoying. There's a very good chance no one likes hearing you, okay? But if you make the occasional call, I don't say much. You might be thinking based on this recording or video that I'm constantly talking. I'm not. I barely talk. In fact, I think this game I had everyone muted. Not like from here, but I had like the setting on. I had everyone muted. It doesn't matter. They can still see what you're typing. Just make a couple of good calls a game. That's all it takes to really change the course of the game. And really to test if your ideas of Dota are correct. So even if you're not good at, necessarily making calls, it's good to see if your call would work, right? To see if your information is correct, right? Your ideas on the game are correct. So even if you're gonna, take that to your individual play, you know whether or not your ideas are generally correct or not. And yeah, that's gonna be the end of today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Picked up a Glimmer Cape here. I feel like for pretty obvious reasons. I have plenty of damage on my team. I don't need to be the damage healer. I don't need a Veil. I feel, even though it's a good Veil game, I don't need a Veil. I don't feel like I need any of these items. I would rather just have a Glimmer, because if Skywrath goes on me, well, he doesn't do any damage. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you want more support content instead of a lot of core content, smash the like button. Get this video to, 1,000 likes. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website, where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.